All right, so now we're going to see the insert operation. So we're going to find out whether a insertion operation in a relational database can violate any constraint. A insert operation means insertion of one or more new tuples in a relation. For example, let's see we have a employee table, employee relation, and we have couple of data. And let's see SSN is our primary key. Okay. And let's see we have a department table and DNO. It employee has DNO. So each employee works in a particular department. Okay, and department has DNO, mean D number, which is the primary key. And you can see that this one is actually the foreign key referencing the DNO of department table. Okay, so let's see it has a department 1 and 2. Okay, and it has name. All right, so that one is our primary key, PK, and SSN is the primary key in employee table. So DNO from employee table is the foreign key. So we can insert one or more new tuples in a relation. Insertion means, for example, I may insert a new employee, okay, that will insert a new tuples in the employee table. Or let's see you are adding a new department. Okay, now you have two department, you may want to add a new department, department number 3 in the department table. Okay, so when we insert a new tuple in a relation, what type of violation it may cause, what type of violation in the database state. So first of all, it may cause domain constraint. Okay, so if one of the attribute values provided for the new tuple is not of the specified attribute domain, it can cause the domain constraint. For example, I am trying to insert into employee that SSN, but as a SSN value I am expecting a SSN value should be a 9 digit. Okay, there should have a 9 digit value. Okay, but you are inserting a new employee where you are inserting the record like 111 111 So here we have actually 5 yeah, here we have actually 5 3 and 3, so 11 digit. Okay, so if it violates any of the domain attribute domain, it will cause the domain constraint. Okay, it will violate the domain constraint. All right, now key constraint, can it violate a key constraint? All right, it can violate a key constraint. For example, let's say in your department table you have 3 department 1 2 and 3. Now I am trying to insert a department, another department with DNO 3. Okay, so what happens? Primary key constraint says that the primary key value has to be unique in each relation. Okay, the primary key value has to be unique in each relation. So I cannot insert a new department uh, with a DNO value which already exists in the table. All right, same for here. If I am going to insert a employee record with the same SSN, all right, that will create a key constraint. So I mean the default action from the database, you may find out that it is going to reject the operation and it will say that it is violating a key constraint, the employee already exists or the department already exists. Okay, all right, referential integrity constant. So referential integrity constant, it can violate, the insertion can violate the referential integrity constant. How is that? So if a foreign key value in a new tuple references in a primary key value that doesn't exist in the referenced relation, that will violate a referential integrity constant. For example, here DNO is the foreign key referencing DNO from the department table. Okay, DNO from employee is the foreign key referencing DNO from the department table. So all the DNO, all the employee I have, they works in a particular department, all the DNO should already exist in the department table. Okay, now let's say I'm trying to insert an employee with DNO 6. Okay, I'm trying to insert an employee with DNO 6. What does that mean? That means actually your database will think that this employee is working in department 6, but department 6 is not in your company. So that must be a wrong department. Okay, that must be a wrong data. Okay, it should not be there. So that will violate a referential integrity constraint. So remember, like, how to easily find whether that's a violation. So if you are trying to look at the foreign key value. Okay, look at the foreign key value, and if there is a new value, okay, if this is referencing a primary key value that doesn't exist in the reference relation, that means it's violating the constraint, referential integrity constraint. Entity integrity constraint, so that's one is an easy one. The entity integrity constraint says that the value of primary key cannot be null. Okay, the value of primary key, for example here SSN, none of the SSN value, it cannot be null. Okay, so here the DNO value, it cannot be null. So if you are trying to insert an employee with a null SSN, so that will violate entity integrity constraint. If you are trying to insert an department with null DNO value, it will violate entity integrity constraint. So looks like the insertion operation, it can violate actually all type of constraint. So that's a easy quiz. Which of the integrity constraint violation is possible by insert statement? Okay, so we have listed key constraint, entity integrity, referential integrity, and all of the above. So I think that's the easy one. The answer is all of the above. So we saw a couple of examples how all of the above constraint violation is possible by insert operation. Now let's look at the delete operation. So delete means delete one or more existing tuples from relation. For example, you have employee. Okay, so for example you have like 10 employees. Okay, now one of the employees is quitting the job. Okay, quitting the job or he's retiring. So you may want to delete that employee from your employee table. So delete means just delete one or more existing tuples from a relation. Now the question is that if we delete a one or more existing tuples, okay, using the same delete statement we can actually delete more tuples. Okay, but for example just focus on we are deleting one tuple from a relation. Okay, so if we delete one tuple from a relation, then what kind of integrity violation it can cause? Okay, so I want to ask you, so let's say this is an employee table and SSN is the primary key. Okay, SSN is the primary key. So the primary key constraint says that the primary key value has to be unique. Okay, now let's see the SSN value. I'm just assuming the SSN are one digit value, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so let's say I'm deleting a employee with 4 SSN, with SSN 4. By deletion, is it possible that it can create a duplicate value for our primary key? It's not possible. Okay, if we delete an existing record, there is no possibility that it is going to violate a key constraint. because this is not possible that there will be it will cause a duplicate record in my for my primary key attribute. Okay, so deleting means I am deleting existing record, so still the all the values for the primary key will be still unique. So that means it will not cause any key constraint violation. That will not cause any key constraint violation. So what about entity integrity? Can it cause entity integrity violation? So entity integrity violation also associated with the primary key. So this constant says that the value of primary key cannot be null. Now if I delete a record from a table, okay, if I delete a record from a table, is it possible that can cause a null value for a primary key? No, it's not. Deleting a record from a table means this is going to delete the whole record, whole tuple from the table. So it is not going to in any way it is going to cause a entity integrity violation. Okay, because the database, we are assuming the database is already in the valid state. Okay, by deleting a record it is not going to make the value of a primary key null. Okay, so delete cannot create a entity integrity violation. All right, now let me think about whether it can cause a referential integrity violation. So referential integrity violation means now we need an example with two tables. For example, we have an employee. I'm going to use the same example, okay, where SSN is the primary key and each employee works with a department, and we have a department table which keep tracks of all the list of department, where DNO is the primary key and the DNO from employee is the foreign key referencing the DNO from department table. Okay, all right, so okay, now let's see here I have a couple of employee. Now employee 1 2 3, I'm assuming the SSN also takes just one digit value, just for example. Okay, so employee 1 and 2 works in one department and employee 3 works in two department. Okay, and we have only two departments in our department table. Okay, so it's completely invalid state. All right, this state doesn't violating any kind of constant, so it's completely a valid state. Okay, now for example I'm trying to delete a department with DNO 1. Okay, I'm trying to delete the department, delete a record. Okay, I'm trying to delete a department which have department 1, so that means this record will not be there anymore. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Do you still think our database is in a valid state? Okay, so what you can do, actually you can just pause there, pause the record for a while. Okay, and you can think about that. Okay, all right, so after your thinking I want to give you the idea how this is going to create a violation. So now in our department table has only one record with department 2, but our employee table has couple of employee which works in department 1. Okay, so this one doesn't exist in department table. Okay, that means it is creating a referential integrity violation. Referential integrity violation, or we can also say foreign key constraint violation. Okay, so a primary key, a delete operation can cause a referential integrity violation if the primary key value of the tuple is being deleted is referenced by other tuples in the database. Okay, So if I'm trying to delete a record with the primary key, that primary key attribute is being referenced by other table, okay, in the database, that will create a referential integrity violation. Okay. Now in this example, let's say I'm just deleting a employee table with SSN1. That is not going to create a referential integrity violation, because the SSN from this database, SSN is not being referenced by any other table. But here I am trying to delete a department where the primary key is being referenced by another table. So that will create a referential integrity violation. Okay.